All right, so we're in now. I needed to talk to a parent for a quick minute on some public, on how to move forward with public participation. That's been taken care of, so we'll go to agenda item 3. Meeting was already called to order at 5:40. We're going to do the salute to the flag now. All right, Colleen, was the meetings posted as required? Thank you. Agenda item 4 is our public participation. During public participation, anybody from the public that wishes to address the school board may do so. I'd ask that you just state your name and what ward you live in, and realize that we as a board cannot act independently or make any decisions on any public comment. That is something that we as a board would need to discuss as a board and as a group. The public participation is mainly for you to address the board or with any concerns that you may have. I give no more than 3 minutes per person and no more than 30 minutes to the public participation. If for some reason I am not able to get through everybody in that 30 minutes, agenda item 14 is a second public participation, and at that time you'll be able to address the school board. Do I have anybody from the public that wishes to address the school board this evening? Yeah, state your name and what ward you're from.
Eustacia Chasen, Ward 2. Members of the school board, I'm here to present to you a deviation in the lack of educators and leadership following your policy on safe school zone, Section J, Code JG3. On June 12th, there was an incident that warranted reporting. According to reporting procedures in Section 7, any school employee who has witnessed or who has information from the victim shall report such act in writing immediately to an immediate supervisor, which is forwarded to the principal, who shall file it with the local law enforcement authority immediately. I was not informed about the incident until June 14th, and after calling the Franklin Police Department, discovered there was no police report filed. After meeting with the school leadership on June 15th, the school resource officer admitted to not being informed at the time of the incident. What is the school board doing for remedial education of the entire district in regards to proper reporting of theft, destruction, or violence?
As the board knows, all of us received a letter. As we all know as a board, we could not act independently. That email that you sent to all the board, thank you very much for informing us of that. That email was sent to the superintendent of schools, okay? So he was made aware of it. I had a discussion with the superintendent on this, and he has informed us that an investigation has been started on this incident that took place. We will also be meeting tonight as a school board in a non-public session to address these concerns that you've brought forward, both to the school board in an email and tonight's concerns, okay? Currently, as you are aware, there is an investigation that has been started on this incident that took place, okay? Because it is a student matter, I cannot discuss any investigation in a public session, okay? It's up to the superintendent to investigate this. Do know that once the investigation is completed, if you are unsatisfied with the decision or the investigation, you as a parent and a citizen of Franklin have the right to request a non-public session with the school board to bring your concerns forward. And at that time, based on the investigation and whatever the outcomes were, the board would make a decision, okay? If you're unhappy with, after both the superintendent and the school boards made the decision, you're still not happy with the decision that is made, you as a parent and also a citizen of Franklin also have the right to appeal our decision to the Department of Education. Once it's appealed to the Department of Education, it would be out of our hands and they would render a decision. Okay, you all good with that?
Yeah, can I just understand how long the timeline is typically for the superintendent to do an investigation? Just so I can expect.
I don't want to
Typically, it's 10 days, but I won't need that long.
Okay, so then I'll have to leave that.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
And he'll keep you up to date, and he'll be informing the board and everything too. He keeps us up to date on all that too.
Okay,
So-
and that will include specifically the question I asked
Yes. Yep.
from Mr. Linola?
Yes.
All right, excellent.
So he'll meet with you, and you can go from there, but what avenues, we do have a protocol and policy in place that you have to follow a chain of command, as I've discussed with you. So that's why I'm telling you what routes you have to take, and you've started those routes already, so it is out of our hands for now, only because there is an investigation, the superintendent has started it. So we have to stay neutral, because if you come before the board, we have to be completely neutral with everything that's brought before us. If not, we'd all have to recuse ourselves. Then we'd be in trouble. All righty?
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the public that wishes to address the school board this evening? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of my meeting. Agenda item 5 is a presentation this evening of our behavioral expectation MTSSB update with Barbara Slayton and her crew.
I will introduce my crew in a minute. I have some handouts for the school board members. I think they might have gone into your board folder late. If you don't see them tonight, it's okay. The stuff I'm handing out is really sort of an overview of the data collection that we've done. I'll come back around if there's. Anybody else like one of these? Principals? Public? Anyone? Okay, and the second thing I'm handing, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you. Second thing I'm handing around, I only made 5 copies of this. This is just to follow along if you want to know exactly what questions correspond with the tiered fidelity inventory that I handed out. I'll go over the highlights, so if you have any questions about a question. I know that Lori wants one. Sorry, one second. I'll hold on to this one, but you can have it afterwards if you want. So, as you all know, because I've been reporting monthly on our MTSSB initiative, our big push this year was to get fully functioning operating teams of Tier 1 or universal strategies across the district at all 3 buildings. What I've handed out to you is sort of the way we track this fidelity to this model. In May, our partner, Catherine Leswing from the Department of Education, who was an MTSSB consultant, came and did this fidelity inventory with the teams that we have operating this year. And then our research partners at Keene State put this sort of data visibility thing together, which shows the growth in certain areas. You'll see the vertical line is 75%. That means we're reaching that standard to 75%. That's a pretty high bar when you're looking at fidelity to a model. And if you can also see, there are arrows going one direction or the other. The front page is if you combine all 3 schools together, how we're faring in each of those areas. And then following that, you have something for each of the schools. I will say, working with teams at each of the 3 schools, each has its different approach to doing things. Each has different leadership style, a different team style, and we'll hear a little bit about how these things developed. So it's really hard to combine them into one. We really need to look at like apples, oranges, and pears. But I'm not surprised by what the district-wide combination shows. And a couple things that I wanted to highlight. We have made tremendous growth in a lot of areas. Some areas of weakness that I will suggest that we start looking at for next year as priorities would be the data collection in terms of when staff are writing up incident reports, if there's been a disciplinary action, for example, making sure that those are being done consistently so we can track the system that we have now where we're tracking discipline actions in Alma allows staff to put in their own titles. So it might be at the high school, you might have skipping class, you might have cutting class, you might have wandering the halls. They all mean the same thing. So we need to be able to sort of shore up our data collection system so that we can use the data better to make informed decisions. The whole idea of Tier 1, many of the factors that go into it is that everybody gets the same kind of education. We teach it positively about expectations. Here's how we expect you to behave in certain areas of the building. And we're trying to build a positive culture throughout that. So I want to pause here before we go to each of the building levels. But does anybody have any questions about, or if you're wondering, hey, what does this mean? Wondering what the corresponding question might be, or any questions about these fidelity inventories? Okay, now we'll get to the fun stuff, and I promise to be quick. So our goal this year was to form teams, which was done at all three buildings in different ways. It was to set up some school-wide behavioral expectations, meaning whether or not you're in the cafeteria or the playground at the elementary school or the bathroom or wherever, different locations, kids know how to behave. They know what the expectations are. And the other thing was to start getting a way to get that message out to everybody. So all of the adults in any building should know what the expectations are. That way they can support the students in following those positive expectations. So I wanted to start with the high school, and then we'll do the middle school, and then we'll do the elementary school. The high school did something a little bit different, so if you could just take a couple of minutes. And if you didn't see on the way in, I'll bring this one down because it's the smallest one, but. At all three of the schools, we just have these posters printed. This is the high schools. So that everyone will see the same visual around the building. So if Dave wants to talk just a little bit about what they did that was a little different and innovative at the high school?
Sure. Usually, Tier 1 or posters like this are done by the faculty and staff, and they kind of create the matrix, behavior matrix. What we did is we used our C3 group, our Culture and Climate Committee. So it's a group of 12 to 15 students of different grade levels that meet with Jamie Walters, our climate specialist. And using the FHS, which I don't know if Barb will be able to read those to you, but focused on some safe using FHS and how those three attributes can be used anywhere and everywhere in the school, whether in the classroom, hallways, bathroom, all different places. What they did is they wrote down ideas, came up with different things, and then they wordsmithed it into these sentences. Some of the faculty staff kind of proved it, kind of gave some feedback on it. So the faculty staff has not seen the final copy of it. We're bringing it to you first, but this is what this was designed by the students, and with the help, even the poster, we kind of created a template. If you look around, like our, well, PSS does the same colors, but the posters that we have now in the building are yellow and gold. So again, trying to create some culture and climate. We've made enough of those for that. Those will go in every classroom. So using those three attributes to be used anywhere and everywhere in the school, outside the school, field trips, basketball games, football games, in the community, that those are what our kind of our motto or our credo is for our students here at the high school. So again, a little different because we had the kids do it, where typically it's the adults that create the matrix and say, here's what we kind of expect from kids in all these places. So that's where we at. Again, it was our C3 group, Culture and Climate crew, and our climate specialist who put that together. Question?
The middle school, Jennifer Campbell is here to talk about the middle school. This is you want to describe how we went
Yeah,
from that to
so
that?
this is our old matrix and, or whatever, the previous matrix. And we had some teacher feedback saying that it was a little confusing, that they're in groups, but really some of this is respectful and responsible. And so we came up with what we call the Venn matrix. We even named it. And it's just a little clearer to read, and it has the areas, but it has the whole school as well. So we've worked a lot on coming up with a new matrix, and we have plans next year to start using data more to see where our write-ups, where our most incidents are, so that we can target those by rewarding positive behavior in those areas. And so we've already gotten some feedback from the students too about what they want to earn, what kind of rewards they're looking for, and trying to do like a weekly reward system for positive behavior throughout the school.
And sometimes PBIS has a negative connotation because people think, okay, here you behaved, have a ticket. You behaved, have a ticket, have a ticket. That's not what this is when we're talking about earning rewards. It's like, hey, if this whole classroom can go an entire day without anybody being sent out of the class for misbehavior, for disrespect, we can have a respectful day as a class, we can earn, 10 extra minutes of recess at the end of the day, something like that. So it's more of a group effort and it's more positively focused. And so as a way to roll this out, because all 3 of the schools will be rolling it out in their buildings, first to the staff and then to the kids, the middle school decided to do some video productions. So I'm gonna show a little bit of a video production here. I'm not gonna show the whole 5 minutes, but you'll see they did some student performances. And did the students write it?
Yeah, the students were the teachers and the teachers were the students. So they were preaching the expectations.
So you're gonna have to turn around.
Oh.
I'm gonna try and do this real fast.
When in doubt, get a bigger stick. It's in my desk.
And these are about how.
Yep, it's coming.
It's got to warm up.
I like the way you guys are all staring. This is about expectations of how to behave in the cafeteria.
Wait, I'm recording and you don't. So maybe you should stop. Just like this. I'll be quiet. Thank you, guys. I'll be quiet. Yes, I will also save the planet. You should always help clean up, even if it's not your mess. It makes it better for everyone. You should always help clean up, even if it's not your mess. It makes it better for everyone. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I was hungry. Oh my god, you know what? I have a snack. Someone that I need to go grab. So I will. I'm back, guys.
Time's up, time to clean up, line up.
It's not fair. You guys aren't fair. You're my perfect one. Don't go to different tables. So I definitely feel good when it comes wonder, but I really think it is personality because why did it only have to be me? What is this? I just wish I were cool. Well, she thinks that there was really wrong. She shouldn't have done it. I know, but like, just because I'm in there doesn't mean everybody has to bully me. Why can't people just have respect for the cafeteria? It's really not right for people to do that. I wish people were way nicer. You know what I'm saying? Well, you can go. I'm sorry for what I made it
Jennifer about the middle school process. And the elementary school, I wanted to introduce, Bonnie Gilbert, sorry, Bonnie Gilbert, I'm just like, Bonnie Gilbert. Their posters are over here. In the elementary school, they have this school-wide expectation, much like the middle school did. And over here, they have posters to put in every area of the building. I made extras for the bathroom for some obvious reasons. Go ahead, Bonnie.
So for our team, our big goals were to start with education, and part of education was explaining what some of the words meant. So we adopted the middle school's picture. Barb shared that with us. We loved it. So we did in our center circle our 3 Bs: be respectful, be safe, be responsible. But those are words that our younger kids are not necessarily going to understand. So we really wanted to put a picture image with them, as well as very short, concise language that can be consistent across the board for everybody, and something that every staff member can agree on and buy into. So that was our goal for the posters, and we really want to focus on the education piece, not only for our kiddos, but for incoming staff or subs or visiting members, that everybody knows what the expectations are. We're the first ones who get them, so we want them to really understand what these terms mean as it gets refined as they go up. The idea behind like the bookmark sized ones are to put them in those areas so that when they switch from space to space, they know what rules remain consistent, but what things are more specific for their areas. The big one that we put at the bottom of the larger one is report unsafe behavior to an adult. That is kind of our big underlying, no matter where you are at all times. That is one we wanted to focus on for everybody. Yeah, that was our process for our rollout. We're very similar to the middle school. We want to do a lot of videos, assemblies. We're also going to try to put together a resource area for staff so that they can have lessons and books and things like that to teach some of these skills, words. We're going to utilize our program that we have at the elementary school. So the Fly 5, we kind of use some of those language pieces.
Any questions for Bonnie? I do know her name. It's been a long day. So just to wrap it up, MTSSB really uses database decision-making, which is why we do this annual fidelity inventory. I have a copy for you now. We use this fidelity inventory so we can see our progress year to year, and we can also see what areas we might need to focus on in the next year, or what might be areas of growth. The teams will be given those. We'll be doing some work over the summer during our summer institute. We'll have a workshop day, and we'll continue to meet throughout the next year. One of our goals for the next year will be to add more student voice at the middle school and the elementary school. That doesn't always look like a 6-year-old sitting at the table with the teachers coming up with this, but we'll be getting some more student voice and input. And we're always looking for parent input and voice. So if there are any parents in the audience or out there who would like to be a part of any of these teams where we're working on the positive expectations of the building, just reach out. Questions? Yeah?
Quick question. Do these changes help with the aligning of the reporting, like the specific reporting program issues that you were talking about? Like, we have like 3 different terms for one thing. Does this help with that, or is that?
No, that's kind of a separate thing, but it comes out of it, because when we look at, across the board, if you look at anything that says data or data-driven decision-making, when we were having those conversations with our partner from the DOE, and that kept coming up in conversation of, well, it's really hard to rely on the data that we're getting, because when we look at the report, or it's even hard for the assistant principals to pull reports. To pull a discipline report from Alma, you need to pull it down into a spreadsheet and do all your own sorting and stuff. Whereas a program like Swiss, you just say, I want to know, you can look at a Swiss report and it will tell you what time of day or what day of the week, or you can easily do a report on equity is an area, school equity focus is another area that's very weak, is because we don't have the real ability to do that easily in our reporting. And some programs like Swiss, you can look at, you know, you can run what's called an equity report, or just, I think, David, is it called a disproportionality report, or something, but basically you can say, show me the differences, in boys and girls. Do boys have disproportionately more discipline reports than girls? And in what categories are discipline reports? So in that kind of program, it's a forced choice where you have to choose from a list of mutually exclusive behaviors, so you don't have this overlap where cutting class is the same thing as skipping. I hope that answers your question. So two things. One, we need to work on how things are reported in terms of categories. Two, we need to train teachers and all staff who are putting the inputs into that on how to write the reports so that we're getting the information that we need.
The overall model scores that are at the bottom of each.
Yep.
Is that based on the increases? Like Paul Smith is very impressive on here with the increases on this.
Yep.
I mean, there's some decreases, but there was a lot of increasing areas.
Yep.
Okay, we went from 25 to 75, and 50 to 100 and whatnot. Okay?
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, so did they come with that 30 to 40, increase from 30 to 44? Did they use the
I think that's just some sort of,
domain scores to go over?
I think that's just some sort of mathematical average that, it's math.
Okay.
At the bottom of the report, oh, sorry. But there's one at the bottom of each of them.
Like you got domain scores all the way
Yep.
through, and then you have your module score at the bottom.
Yeah, I think the unlike on the overall module score for the whole district, I think it's just mathematical averages. Like, I don't know exactly how they figured that out.
I mean, but looking at this, obviously, we're seeing trend in the right direction.
We are seeing trend in the right direction, correct. There are a few things that have gone in the wrong direction.
Correct.
And we had some discussion about those as those were happening. Restorative practices is one of them, that went from 42% overall in the district to 8%.
Right.
And, I mean, we can, what we would do as a team is we would take that back to the middle school team, for example, and say, hey, let's look at this together. What are your theories about why that's happening? And it might be because we have new administration at all of the buildings, and they're, you know, trying to get on what the disciplinary practices have been in the past, and that we'll be making a shift towards restorative practices. So the data isn't like a, hey, this is the beginning and the end. It's this is a conversation starter that we put in with our other data to say where do we move to next.
When do they take it again?
In the spring, we've been
In the
doing it in
spring.
May.
So
Yep.
then we'll have a comparison again?
Yeah, so we used to, this is called the multi-tiered systems of support for behavior New Hampshire Fidelity Inventory, shortened to MFI. We used to use something called the TFI, Tiered Fidelity Inventory, which was more of a nationwide measure, but that was pre-COVID. And then they switched to this right after COVID, so we can't really compare. But we do have 5 years of data from before showing kind of a positive trend in the right direction. And then after COVID, we switched to this new inventory, so we're kind of starting at baseline again.
Thank you very much.
Other questions? Yeah.
Well, you kind of answered it, because that's what I was gonna say, you know, obviously, you've been investing in this. So you just literally answered the question, but, my question, my next question is, obviously you're sort of ramping up the culture, like you're
Yep.
trying to really incorporate this into the culture, and that's great. Like, I
Yep.
think that's great. How are you, other than like signage, I'm just getting pictures of rows of hall monitors, like, how,
No, so.
which I know it's not, really.
No. So what, let me give you an example. What this looks like is the expectation that, you know, you don't expect a child to come in and know how to do addition, right? When they come in as a kindergartner or first grader. So you have to teach them that. So we're trying to get everybody on the same page, and we're assuming that everybody needs to be taught the expectations, because even if you went down the one hallway in the elementary school and asked the teachers, what's the expectation about the hallway, how we move through the hallways, you'll probably get 5 different answers.
Had to have a lot of discussions about it.
Slightly different answers. You know, is it okay to skip in the hallway? I've learned, yes, that's okay, but it's not okay to run, and it's not okay to put your hands on the wall unless you're doing the sensory wall. And so there's all of these things. So how do we expect kids to know? So the idea is that we explicitly teach them. So it might look like Bonnie taking her classroom out in the hall of second graders, got that right, and saying, hey, we're gonna practice these expectations in the hallway. And they look at the poster and they talk about what the expectations in the hallway are, and then they do that. And then they're like, yay, we did it. And then, you know, they practice again. And then, what's that?
That's excellent.
Right, so,
Hands-on.
so that, what it might look like there, at the middle school, it might look like the same thing. It might actually look like the same thing. Hey, you guys are having trouble with coming in from outside after recess, we're gonna go practice that. And I've seen teachers do that, we're gonna go practice that, but unless you have it all agreed upon and spelled out, Mr. Reed's way of practicing it might be different than Mrs. Doherty's way of practicing it. So it's about getting first the adults all on the same page and being consistent with some expectations. That doesn't mean they can't have their own culture or their experience in the classroom, but can we just all agree that we're not running full out sprints in the hallway? Like, can we just, you know, where is that gonna start?
And so there's a training for this, like the administrators or the educators are all training for this at?
Part of what the teams do, so the teams at each of at the elementary school and the middle school, now at the high school, we will get to that point, but part of the purpose of that team is to train their peers. So, like at the middle school in general, I don't know if it worked out this way this year, but there was a representative from each wing on the MTSSB Tier 1 team. So it was that person's responsibility to go back to their wing and say, I need your feedback, here's what we're looking at, and then it's their responsibility to go back to their wing and say, here's what we're doing. Or at a staff meeting, the Tier 1 team might say, hey, we're gonna show this video on the hallway, then we're gonna talk about, as adults, how we're going to support this positive behavior. And it's also a shift from negative, and as I was putting these up, posters up, I covered up the warning, do not steal, and the do not steal. I don't know how to positively say, you know, eat your own food maybe, but it's a shift from telling kids what the expected behavior is, and away from don't do this, don't do that.
Okay, that was great, that's great, that's exactly the explanation.
Yep.
Any other questions for Bob? All right, thank you, Barbara.
I apologize, my
All right,
age.
so just so you guys know, the administrators are gonna be going home because they've done enough over the last few nights, and some administrators have graduations coming up over the next few nights, and it's been very busy for them. So Dan Aspie, and I agreed with it, to let our administrators go home because we all have their report. So before they leave, if you have any questions for our administrators based on the reports that they have forwarded, ask them now, please. Go ahead, Liz.
It's the dumbest question. What's a reverse dunk tank? I haven't had time to Google it.
So, I didn't know either
Okay.
until this year. So a reverse dunk tank is that instead of the person being on top
Yes.
and dropping into the water is on top and the bucket falls on the person underneath. Yeah, I know, I was like,
Okay.
they have to jump out of the water? What does that mean?
Yeah, they're in the water.
No,
and they
I
get
know,
out.
right?
It doesn't seem like a payoff.
Yeah, no, that's what, and the middle school is the proud owner of a reverse dunk tank, should anyone require it for, you know, anything moving forward.
Thank you.
That's a good question.
That's a very pressing question.
That was my question too, so.
Any other questions for any administrators? Dave, I just want to say, great job the other night, Friday night, your first graduation, very well. Dave kept it moving extremely smoothly. 1 hour and 20 minutes, we were done.
Wow.
1 hour, 1 hour and 8, but I'm not.
Okay, well, we have to shake the hands and
Yeah.
all that. But just so those who weren't able to go, this was Dave's first graduation, and we did an outstanding job, and everything was smooth, so thanks for that.
But I just want to shout out to Dan and his crew. I mean, Dan and Steve and Travis. I mean, anything you needed, they were there. I had a couple shadows, which was great. Or they had a couple shadows. It was maybe I was following him around.
Anybody who don't know, there's kindergarten graduation tomorrow. I'll be attending tomorrow night. That's at 5:30, so I'm invited to do that. They're having a concert, so I'll be going to that. Wednesday night, I will be attending the middle school graduation.
Yep.
So that's at 6 o'clock for any board members who want to go. So.
We'd love to have
If
you.
you're interested in the kindergarten tomorrow night, it's 5:30 for graduation, 6:30 is the kindergarten concert. Dan, unfortunately, I had to work my second job, so my apologies to Jenny, I wasn't able, to Nicole, I wasn't able to make the third grade.
They rocked the
Graduation-
house. Thank you, FMS, for letting us borrow.
Graduation, and they had a
Our pleasure,
concert,
our
so Dan wasn't able to attend it. So any of you who are available or want to go tomorrow night to graduation, 5:30 and then 6:30, and then 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Everybody should get Dan Clark, HVAC is moving along, if you have any questions for Dan on HVAC before we let him go.
All right.
Thank you, administrators. very
Thank you
much.
all.
We'll get you out of here and get you home tonight. Okay,
What about Cadence? Curious.
she's coming up on here. Cadence, you want to go home? Cadence, we're gonna move you up, how's that? No board member objection, we're gonna get the high school report out of the way so Cadence can go home. We're gonna move agenda item 7 up. You are high school student representative report. Cadence, lay it out.
Alright, so it's pretty quick because there's not really much going on because it's end of school year. But National Honor Society has completed like everything that they have done. They have done chuck-a-duck to blood drives. They have elected the officers for 2023 and 2024 school year. And we will be having senior Olivia Sylvester as president and senior Leah Cody as the vice president. And along with Olivia and Leah, we will have our normal officer spots. They are already picked out. And we would like to congratulate the National Honor Society graduating seniors this year. And we wish them all the best of luck in college. And the high school band led the class day parade. We had 6 people, including our senior, Ray LeBeck, and she has stepped up from not only being a senior, so she is a senior, and she also stepped up to marching drum major. And she filled in the spots for Ms. Bragan since she is out on maternity leave, so we are wishing her best of luck out of high school and hoping she is continuing with her musical passions. And then our C3 group, who has created our posters, we helped along with the middle school with their 8th grade transition. So they came to the high school and we toured them around all the different spots in the buildings, took them into a few classrooms to show them around, and then they had some fun activities in the gym right along after that. And that is it.
Any questions for Cadence?
When does the newly elected, when does everybody meet? Do they have that set up, like when school starts back up?
Yeah, I believe it's like right in the fall, like right after their induction ceremonies. I'm not sure when those are though.
Any other questions for Cadence? Cadence, just so you know, the board takes July off of meetings, and then we don't have a meeting until late August, but we're gonna excuse you from that one, just because you're gonna be getting ready to come back to school and the whole 9 yards. So you won't need to come until the September meeting, which will be the 3rd Monday of September. So that'll give you your summer off to enjoy yourself and get ready to get back into it in August, okay? Thank you very much. All right, we're gonna go to back up to agenda item 6, so Cadence can go ahead home now. Recognitions, I'll turn that over to the superintendent.
So we have 3 retirements at the end of this school year. I wanted to recognize Beth Lavoie, kindergarten teacher at Paul Smith School, Leanne Doucette, Franklin High School paraprofessional, and Jen Dunlap, our IT technician. All 3 will be retiring at the end of the year. And that is all I have for recognitions.
I can tell you all of them have many years. My son actually had Beth Lavoie as a kindergarten teacher. My son is 29 years old, so Beth has been with us for quite a few years. I don't know how many.
I don't know how many,
Leanne's been with us for a while, and Jim's been with us now for
but
11 years?
10 maybe.
10 years?
Almost 10 years, yeah.
So we wish him well, obviously. Any other recognitions to be brought? Go ahead, Christine.
I'd like to recognize Ms. Longbon for leading the school district. She's worked in the school district for several years, many years, and it's your loss to see her go.
It is. Thank you. Any other recognitions this evening? I'd just like to, as Kaden said, I'd like to recognize our seniors who graduated on Friday night. I wish them all, as you all, I'm sure do too, wish them the best in their future endeavors, and everything went very well that night. So congratulations, and I just want to recognize our senior class this year. Any other recognitions? All right, seeing none, we'll close it. We'll move on to agenda item 8. Agenda item 8 is our approval of our prior board minutes for both May 15th, 2023, and a non-public of May 15th, 2023. I need approval for both.
We were unable to get these completed before tonight, so we will have to push that to the next meeting, Tim.
All right,
Our
so-
I'll make a
apologies.
motion to table.
So a motion's been made to table the minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Liz. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The minutes will be tabled. Agenda item 9 is our financial report. I'll turn it over to Jefferson.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'll keep this short and sweet, unlike myself. I have uploaded the financial statements to the board folder for tonight. Since the board meeting, we've actually unencumbered $141,345. This is primarily by reviewing and reducing the amounts in open purchase orders, mainly under the special education professional services, which we typically do this time of year as we start working on our cleanup for the end of the year. My process will continue on usually to the middle of August, where I finally get everything cleaned up and reconciled, and our state reporting that is due at the September 1st. We have received an additional $29,525 in general and food service revenue. $10,625 came from additional indirect costs for the administration of our grants. $11,816 from Medicaid funding, $4,769 from accrued bank interest, and $187 in additional adequacy aid and other local revenue. Since the City Council had approved the city budget on June 1st, which is very early, this has allowed me to complete the state form called the MS-22, which is for the Department of Revenue. This is the report of appropriations as voted. What I need then is to pass this form around, and all the school board members, the superintendent, and the school district clerk, which is Colleen, to put their name on it and sign it. I'll start with you, Deb. So if you can all take care of that, that would be great, so that I can submit it to the DRA. And that's as much as I had on my discussion for this evening. If anybody has any questions?
Who's our district clerk?
That would be Colleen.
Go ahead.
So you found $141,000 that we have that was not used?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because what we do is we have contracts with providers during the year, and they project out how much they anticipate spending over the school year. But then they, during the year, and certainly as we get closer to the end of the year, they look at the usage rate that we've actually had and determine that we didn't need that much under the contract that was initially encumbered at the beginning of the year. So we can reduce the amount of money that we have encumbered for that particular purpose.
So is that money to go back into special education since it was originally planned
It becomes available budget.
it becomes available?
Correct, and it actually will go into what's called the fund balance at the end of the year, which I have a projected amount of fund balance for next year's budget to use to help cover the next year's budget, and that is what will help with it. If we go above that fund balance, then we would go back to the city council next year at some point, usually when we also know what our final adequacy aid number is, which comes out October 1st, because it's unfortunately based off of end of year enrollment or ADM, they call it, average daily membership. So we don't actually know what our adequacy aid actually will be. So when that number is known, then we'll take, if there's additional fund balance above and beyond what I projected, plus maybe any additional adequacy aid, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that'll be the case too, because I think the numbers that the state used to estimate what our adequacy aid, the ADM might be lower than it actually is. So once they have the final numbers, what they call EOY, or end of year, then we get our final number, because that comes out when tax rate setting is done, and that's why they determine it at that point, because it's part of the equation for determining the adequacy aid. The other issue, though, too, is also the passing of the state budget. So we're still waiting to hear what happens with that. The Senate has dealt their hand into it, made their amendments and all that other stuff. I think the next step at this point is to go to the governor.
Yeah, it's on his desk for
And to see
signature.
if the governor will sign what it is. How that played out also kind of improved our position a little bit on the adequacy aid, too, is how they're determining the formula, because they changed the dynamics of the formula, too, in that budget process. So the latest projection showed maybe about $170,000 more than we were originally estimated to get. So we will see if that comes to fruition once we get that final number in October. You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jefferson?
Deb,
Whoops, go ahead, Deb.
where do we stand on food service? Will there be a deficit there that will have to come from the fund balance?
There is a significant fund balance in food service that we required from last year, so it won't necessarily come out of the general fund. We have enough fund balance
To cover.
because we had about $178,000 fund balance of the food service program from last year.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure we won't have
Have to.
higher than that as a deficit. So any amount that we got eaten out of that will come from the fund balance that already exists in the food
Okay.
service program.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Jefferson.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to agenda item 10, which is our committee reports. We'll start with Deb.
Negotiations have begun. Our first meeting took place, and we set our dates, 4 dates that we're going to start to negotiate over the summer. And our first one is next Monday night, the 26th. Our finance committee met on June 15th, and we reviewed the bank reconciliations, the student activities accounts. The treasurer's report was not available, but is now. And so the committee has been able to look in the drive at that. We talked about fund balance. Mr. Legallo gave us an update on personnel. And we talked about what was the projects for buildings and grounds. And our next meeting is August 23rd at 6 o'clock.
I think our next negotiation to
June
July
26th is not a negotiation meeting.
July 10th and July 25th.
I'm sorry.
And August 30th.
I think that was one of the original dates, and I
Yeah.
didn't take it out of my phone. That's good, it gives me a night off.
Yeah.
So I apologize.
All right, any questions for Deb on negotiations or
Change it now.
finance? All right. Carissa, do you have any update on Port Trevor graduate?
I can share with you that we submitted a proposal for $150,000. We'll get some feedback and we'll submit the final proposal on June 28th, so it's a quick turnaround. It's hurry up and wait, and then we'll wait until August 1st to find out if we'll get funded for next year for BAR. We did, since your last board meeting, we did take an additional 4 students out on a site visit, so in total, we've taken 14 students in some way, shape, or form out to explore schools, some of them virtually, 4 of them virtually, but the others were able to go out, so that's really great. And every single teacher, except for one in the high school, has been out on a site visit. So that's really important for the process going forward.
Any trips over the summer?
No trips over the summer. Schools aren't in session. You can't really visit.
You know, I mean, we're really eager kids want to go, oh yeah, that's right. Just go tour an empty building. I don't know. It's not. Very good point. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, any other committee reports? All All right, we'll close that portion. We'll go to new business. New business is all our updates from our superintendent. I'll turn it over to Dan.
Okay, first up, on May 23rd, I reached out to the board looking for authorization to secure a PO for our domain control controller with Wally computers. And the reason for that was because we had a 1 week window in July that we could shut down the internet in the buildings and the building and get the domain controller. The bid was for $21,068, and the only other bid that we had was for $47,013.21. So we did an email vote, and that was approved, so we moved forward, and now we just need to ratify that vote tonight.
Do you have the vote, do you have the, what everybody voted for, Dan?
Yes, but not everybody's here, so.
All right, we'll start. Deb, what was your vote that night?
I think first we should hear the
Okay, go ahead.
the votes that were taken,
Okay,
so that we have it in the record.
so I have it right here. So I had Delaney, yes, Maureen, yes, Lori, yes, Liz, yes, Jack, no, Deb, no, Tim, yes.
6-2?
I didn't count them as I said it, but.
Sorry, I lost count.
Let me say it again. Delaney, yes,
I know there
Maureen,
was
yes, Lori, yes, Liz, yes, Jack, no, Deb, no, Tim, yes.
5-2.
5-2. Was it 6?
Whatever. Somebody, it passed. So based upon those results, is everybody still in agreement with their vote? Deb?
Yes.
Yes? All right, so that does pass still, that's ratified, does pass.
Colleen, I have this for the minutes. Okay, next up, NHSBA has a call out for resolutions. What that means is school boards that are interested, you could write a resolution that you want the full NHSBA to consider for adoption. We have until October to submit resolutions. So I just wanted to put out there to the board that if there's any interest in writing resolutions or submitting resolutions, it's something you should think about over the summer, and we can come back and talk about it again in August so that we can put something together. Liz?
Says
The
July
board, it
28th.
says July 28th is the deadline, and the paper and the folder.
Oh, I got the wrong date. So if we're interested in doing that, we would have to call a special meeting to do that.
Let me make sure.
I thought what I had read was October.
That's when the actual.
Is that when the actual meeting is?
Yeah, so the deadline for screen proposals is the close of business Friday, July 28th.
You checking that too?
I am.
Do they do this annually?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they do it annually.
I'm the delegate for the board, and it's October 14th, it's a Saturday.
So what will happen, just so you know, is all the resolutions that get submitted, we'll bring to the full board from around the state. And you as a full board will discuss and talk about which ones you want to support and which ones you don't. And then Deb is the delegate that will go and vote on that for you, just so you know the process.
I will give Max, hopefully this will go through. There is on that too, Deb is the delegate for it. I normally set it as the alternate. So if for some reason Deb wasn't able to make it, I would be there, be able to have the vote of the board. Obviously, I have to step down from that position as an alternate, because I sit as the first vice president on the New Hampshire School Board Association. So it will definitely be a conflict of interest for me to sit on that as an alternate. So Delaney is thinking about it, but if for some reason Delaney says, no, I don't have time or whatever, and we may be looking for someone else who may have an interest in it, you'd be able, anybody can go to the delegate assembly. It's open to every school board member there is. You just sign up for it. We'll be sending out an email shortly on it. You sign up for it. You don't have a voting process in it, because only your delegate from your school board is the only one that can vote, but anybody can attend those meetings and listen to the resolutions and everything like that. So if Delaney decides he doesn't want to do his alternate, then I'm gonna have to have somebody out there who will be willing to step in, but I have to step out of that position now.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to resignations. So I have resignations, and I have Justin Avery, grade 4 to 6 teacher, Kim Berthollet, middle school social studies teacher, Rob Anderson, middle school math teacher, Jen Sperkey, high school math teacher, and Wendy Dropkin, middle school health teacher.
Friday, July 14th.
Thank you.
So that's 8 resignations?
Tonight, that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5.
And how many resignations did we get last night?
I don't have it with me, but it was 3 or 4. 4 maybe, 3 or 4.
So, and how many spots are open now at the high school?
We have 2 signs, 2 signs, 2, 3, 4.
I didn't hear the question.
She asked how many openings there were at the high school right now.
Thank you.
5, I think.
And what subjects are those in?
2 math, 2 science, 1 computer science.
And how about middle school? How many openings are in middle school?
We have 2 openings at the middle school, and this health teacher is the 3rd opening.
And are those for fourth grade or the other ones?
So we have a 4th grade, we have a social studies position, and we have a health teacher.
Social studies for 8th grade? Ms. Whitmore?
I think it's 7th. I think she teaches 7th or 8th. I think it's 8th.
Now, do you have stuff out on Indeed for these positions?
Yeah, we have positions posted, yeah.
Okay, my concern is, my daughter has been the past 2 years in advanced placement classes where she's getting completely bored because she's had, substitute teachers conducting those classes. And one of them was the middle of the year, the teacher left. And then this year, the first month, the teacher left. This isn't becoming a problem. Those are the students that are wanting to go on to college and need the advanced placement teaching to be there. And if it's becoming easy for them, she's at the point right now where she doesn't even want to go to school because she doesn't feel she's getting an adequate education. And she's a student that is normally thriving and striving her best. She had a setback this year, she was very sick. And that, that didn't help very much. But coming back into school, she basically got lost. She's been going through the year with her advanced placement class of things for science and then for social studies. And she just feels that she's not getting an education. And I really feel like this is becoming a real problem. This is 2 years in a row now for her. And there's other students that are doing the same. And then my other daughter who's in middle school, she told me that 3 of her teachers are leaving next year. She's only gonna have 1 teacher that's staying next year, so she's gonna have all 3 new teachers. So what are we doing to keep our teachers interested in staying in the school district? That's what I'm my biggest concern. We wanna keep them, we want them to stay. This one guard is a huge loss. Huge loss. So I think that we really need to look into that a little bit more. I know we've been looking at it for years, but right now, this is another exodus that I'm witnessing in the past 9 years. I think this will be the 3rd one actually. A lot of teachers leave, and it's really, really hurts our kids. So we need to do that.
All right, so we got the resignations that have been brought forward, so I need a motion on them.
I'll make a motion to accept the list of resignations as Superintendent Ogallo has presented with regret comments.
Okay, motion been made to accept the resignations as was presented with regret. Do I have a second? Second by Lori. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the resignation with regret, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the resignations are accepted.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Jalen Finney, high school English teacher tonight, and Kate McPherson, middle school special education teacher for next year.
I make a motion to accept the two nominations presented by Superintendent Legato.
Motion's been made to accept the nominations as was presented by Superintendent Legallo. Do I have a second? Second by Christine. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I believe it's a typo, but I just want to check for Kate McPherson, about her, about her certification, item 12, special instructions policy, where I think the contract is support staff contract. It says that she's applying for all four and will do so prior to the 2022-23 school year.
23-24, yeah, we caught that already, yeah.
Okay.
We just didn't change it on yours,
Okay.
yeah.
I saw that, I was
Yeah,
like.
we caught that, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Liz.
Yep.
You passed your test.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the nomination, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the nominations are accepted.
I'd also like to nominate Spirit Seeker as the school district treasurer for another year.
I make a motion to accept Spirit Seeker as the school district treasurer for 23-24 school year.
Okay, motion's been made to accept Spirit as the school treasurer for 23-24 school year by Deb. Do I have a second? Second by Liz. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the nomination is accepted.
Okay. So I had two teachers rescind their letters of resignation, so I'm gonna renominate them just to keep it legal. So that would be Ainsley Doyle, middle school art teacher, and Ally Reardon, grade 2 teacher at the elementary school. So I'm renominating them to you tonight.
I make a motion to accept the renomination as presented by Superintendent Legato.
Motion been made to accept the renominations of two individuals as was presented by the superintendent. Do I have a second? Second by Desiree. Any discussion?
What sort of, are there extra supports or meetings and things in place? Well, I guess it depends on circumstances of their resignations, but if required, are there supports in place for these teachers that will hopefully help them?
Yes, but their reason for resigning was, one was relocation that fell through,
Okay.
and another one was just a change of heart and not wanting to leave to go somewhere else.
Okay.
So there were no performance issues.
Okay.
It was just us convincing them to stay, so. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the renomination, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the renominations are accepted.
Because this is our last meeting until August 28th, typically you have taken a motion in the summer to allow me to execute teacher contracts and then nominate the folks on August 28th, so we don't have people wondering all summer long if they're gonna get a contracts approved by the school board. So I'm asking the board to authorize me to execute contracts with professional staff that to be nominated on August 28th, which would be our next meeting. I usually wait.
I'll make a motion to authorize the superintendent to hire professional staff over the summer and execute contracts.
Motion been made to authorize the superintendent to do summer hiring, staff, and to do contracts. Do I have a second? Second by Christie. Any discussion? Go ahead, Desiree.
It's bothering me, because I thought that you, when we approved, well, actually, this is not, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, so what happens is, we don't meet again till August, so Dan wants to be able to hire, then he'll bring the names to us in August on who he hired and contracts. Yes, because we're not together again till the end of August. Is that okay? All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Okay, and then the last item I have is the 23-24 school board meeting schedule. It's in the packet, so recognizing that August meeting is the fourth Monday. So just everybody being aware of that, and then remembering that the January meeting is always the one that we have the day after, which would be on January 16th, which is a Tuesday. Other than that, it's the third Monday of the month for a full year. And other than that, that's all I have.
Do we need the motion to accept this? Our schedule?
I don't think so.
Before we move on, Dan, can you just briefly just inform the board what the state of New Hampshire is having a short supply of teachers that you and the superintendents have had lengthy discussions
Yeah,
about?
so there's a national shortage of teachers, which is hitting New Hampshire as well. The Lakes Region Superintendents circulated a survey beginning of last week because of the shortage in math and science teachers in the region. So they had asked, and I think there's eight school districts that feed into the Hewitt Center. So the 8 superintendents filled out a survey about how short we were at the high school level with math and science teachers. And in the survey, they asked about local school districts in that region that would be willing to host kids, whether that would be virtually, potentially, or on-site. And then there was conversation also about whether or not the Hewitt would potentially host potentially math and science classes where kids could then travel to the Hewitt. So this is not just a Franklin issue, it's a Lakes Region issue, it's a New Hampshire issue, it's a national issue. And it hits Franklin first for lots of different reasons, usually because of the salaries that we pay and our location and some of the challenges that we face economically. So we always get hit first with shortages. Dave and I met with Lakes Region Community College President Patrick Haight last week as well, trying to forge a relationship with them. They're the ones that brought the manufacturing teachers here. We're trying to work with them on math and science teachers. I've also forged a relationship with Plymouth State University, trying to work with them on getting interns. They're not generating any math or science candidates at the college level as well, but that's why we're pushing that issue forward. We created a master's degree program for our teachers to take on site last year. You might remember that we created that program. That program's created so we can keep teachers here in district. We'll be hopefully having 2 college courses here on site this year to continue that program and keep teachers in the district. None of the teachers that took the master's college class last year are leaving. They're all staying. Those are all attempts to keep teachers here in Franklin. So we are looking this on lots of different avenues. But we're also going to need to think about doing things differently. We need to think about leveraging VLAX potentially. We need to think about teachers teaching outside of their certification areas, which is allowable by DOE rules, even though it's not the best thing to do. We need to think about using these project blocks and getting experts in the field to come in and work with our kids and our teachers on this. But right now at the high school, we have, for next year, 1 math teacher and 1 science teacher on staff. And this year, we only had 2 science teachers on staff, so losing 1 science teacher means we're down to 1. And we've lost 2 math teachers, and that means we're down to 1. So that is the current reality of where we're at the high school level. So these are all avenues that Dave and I are exploring. Carissa's been working on this with us as well in our redesign. But yeah, we're in a major shortage, and we're going to struggle to find math and science teachers because nobody in the region can find them either.
And given that we have 1 teacher at the high school for math, they can't teach the entire curriculum themselves, so what are we taking off? Are we losing classes?
We're gonna work on VLAX. We're gonna work on project blocks to embed some of these classes. We're gonna work on Lakes Region, trying to come in and bring some of their people here, or us send kids there.
And you haven't figured it out, like how we're gonna fill that?
No, we're still working on it. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying to you is nobody's figured this out yet in the region. So that's what we'll be working on from the time we send the kids home and on Thursday until the time the kids come back at the beginning of September.
I just didn't know if you had figured out, like, you're gonna have to keep, like,
Yeah.
what,
gotta speak up a little bit, guys.
We're gonna meet with Winnisquam, who's in our region, to see what we can do with Winnisquam. We've done a flip program with them in the past. So that's 5 different things that I'm talking to you about, what we're trying to do to deal with the shortage here at the high school. Christie?
I was actually gonna ask about using Winnisquam, Paramount Valley, we have kids that are going over here.
Yeah, that's all the things that we're looking at.
Yeah, they can go to, they can go to 20 classes, still graduate from Franklin, but
Yeah.
take classes.
It's even the possibility of even more college credits than we already give out.
Right.
And that's why the survey went around, because of the situation that we're all in.
And I was aware of that, but I'm still angry about the situation. Like, I can't help it. It's like, it's my kid's future. And I know that a lot of the parents in the community are really upset. And there's nothing that we can do about it. But it's like, I want to know, how do we hold on to these teachers? What is making them want to? Is it, and I know that you said that they have the opportunity to be in the college classes, the master's program.
A lot of it is relocation, Christie, to be honest with you. 2 of the math teachers relocated.
So I do know one math teacher is going to the school district, not necessarily within communities though. So I'm just wondering, like, what was the reason for her leaving? I can ask her that myself. It was just, I mean, was it because of behavioral issues? Because she just feels like she's not going anywhere? She feels like she was brought to prospects? That's my question.
I don't want to speak for somebody. You know, we do exit interviews, so we put it out there, and sometimes we hear back, and sometimes we don't. But when you can go somewhere that's right next door to where you live and make $10,000 more,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you fault someone that wants to do that for their family? I know we have another teacher that's relocating to a different part of the state, a family situation. You know, I mean, and we're not talking about, departments with like 6 teachers in them. Our departments have 2 or 3 teachers.
Right.
You know, we're small, so when you lose 1 or 2 teachers, that's like almost your whole department.
So has our enrollment come down in Logo? I'm wondering on that.
We're still at about 270, yeah.
Just wondering, like, because of the kids that they can take on. And it's just,
Yeah. So I'll be coming back to you on August 28th with the best solutions that we can come up with as a district, based on all the limitations that we have. And that's what we'll work on all summer. We work all summer on this. So.
Any other questions for Dan?
Institutions of higher ed reaching out to. I only asked, so I used to be a placement coordinator for a school in New Hampshire, and a lot of master students were scattered. And I know I usually reach out to districts to be like, hey, can you place this person? I wonder if it would be beneficial for us to reach out to schools in New Hampshire who have those programs, the graduate level programs, who are getting a certification, who may be, like, somebody may be close, and then they can reach out to them and say, like, hey, yeah, we have somebody who could,
Yeah.
who could do that.
We tried White Mountains was the other one that we reached out to too. So I'm willing to reach out to anybody you can think of. You got an idea?
Okay.
Send it our way, and we'll reach out. I mean, the other thing to think about is people in the community that have a particular background in math and science. The state's giving out alternative letters with people with bachelor's degrees that have the content knowledge and having them come in. So we're thinking about people maybe coming in and doing 9-week modules with kids on portions of classes based on their backgrounds and stuff. Because our project block really lends itself to being able to do that. It's like a college schedule. That Tuesday, Thursday block is like, so that's why Lakes Region was like, hey, we might be able to help you. So.
Any other questions for Dan? All right, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
All right, item 12, as we know, we've already asked our administrators, so that's done. Item 13, is there any late items, Dan?
Yes, there's one late item.
Okay, go ahead.
So next year is the 100th year of the Class Day Parade. So we thought that we might want to think about, and that's why I'm bringing it up tonight, not for us to do anything other than to think about, but perhaps we might want to do something special for our 100th year celebration of 100 years of Class Day Parade in Falkirk. So I throw that out to you as board members who represent the community to perhaps this summer talk this up a little bit. Remembering that this is a school district event, and if
The only one in the country.
and the only one in the country. So in my mind, let's do it up big. It's a 100-year anniversary. And I don't usually use the word anniversary because we had to cancel one because of COVID, but it's still the 100 years. It started in 1924, based on the research that we did. So next year's the 2024 one. So I will bring this back up to you in the fall, and hopefully you all talked to all your neighbors and stuff and said, let's talk about what we want to do to make this kind of even bigger than what it already is. And the one that we had was great, by the way, last Thursday. It was great to see everybody out there. So.
I had several suggestions on my way back, walking all.
I always
the way
get
back.
suggestions every time
And
we
they were
walk
saying
every year.
Music, and they wanted a float for the seniors, and, I mean,
Yeah.
but they want music and dancing. A woman gave me a dance.
Oh.
Like, oh, she showed me the way to talk. I
Well, next year may be the year to do all of these suggestions because it's the 100th. So.
I said I would suggest it.
That's all for late
That
items.
was all I had for late items.
Carissa's our only person still left out here. You good, Carissa? Okay, so agenda item 14 is our second public participation. We have no public with us, so we will close that. Agenda item 15 is a non-public, and I believe... Doing what? I can't hear you. Yeah, I'll get to that. Yep. Okay, so we need a motion, and if someone, from anybody who wants to accept that kindergartner.
I'll make a motion to approve the kindergarten.
So Deb's made the motion to accept the kindergartner for next year. Do I have a second? Second by Liz. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the kindergartner is accepted.
All right, thank you. I'll let them know.
All right, we do have a need to go into non-public for a few more items that we weren't able to fulfill, so I'll take
I'll
a
make a
motion.
motion to go into non-public RSA, excuse me, 91A3, paragraph 2, A and C, and K, is that K? for-
Personnel and negotiations. Yep. Okay, motion been made by Deb to go into non-public under 91A3, paragraph 2, A and C for personnel and negotiations. Do I have a second? Second by Desiree. Give a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.